Right. Now, on the 23rd of September 2020, the startup bill that is proposed by Senator Sakaja, CBS, was published after months of engagement with the tech community. And now we're trying to understand what are some of the benefits as well. We're trying to highlight some of those benefits that are coming from the Startup Act and how startups stand to benefit. Now, the startup bill will, first of all, include several benefits. It plans to promote the foundation of registered startups. Under the Act, startups will be given support in terms of research and development. Other support will include fiscal and non-fiscal support for them. The bill also aims to create growth programs for startups at a provincial and national level through partnering with local and international business incubator. The PSC, the Public Service Commission of Kenya, will recruit a registrar for registering startups, and the Kenya National Innovation Agency will appoint a registrar. Local and national governments will also work to promote the link between the business community and universities and research institutions. Intellectual property, which is a very big concern for entrepreneurs in this particular country. Now, the startup bill, the Kenyan government aims to provide IP protection specifically for startups and help with the registration of international patents. Investors who will invest in the startups, first of all, the startups have to have at least one Kenyan founder who also has rights to the patent of that startup as well. The investors are cushioned or are de-risked from running into losses in case some of these startups fail. So that is why in that very same bill, investors have been given the leeway or the opportunity to cash in back up to 30% of their initial investment. Now, away from all that, we have been trying to understand what the environment for startups has been looking like in the country. The University of Nairobi HULT Prize is premised on thinking big, being bold, and working towards solving some of humanity's pressing challenges, as well as the objectives they are saying is to put the University of Nairobi and the HULT Prize as well on the global map as the epitome of youth-led initiatives, innovations for profit, and social entrepreneurship. This is also in line with the SDGs that have been set out by the for a better world by the United Nations. Their theme for this year's on-campus program is the University of Nairobi for SDGs. It seeks to tap into the ideas of young people in line with the HULT Prize 2020 challenge that is themed transforming food into a vehicle for change, food for good. Previous challenges, of course, since the inception in 2010 up to 2020 have been on education, clean water, energy, poverty, global food crisis, etc., youth unemployment, and all these things affect the youth in this particular country. I am seated on set with the campus director for the University of Nairobi Charter, that is the HULT Prize, University of Nairobi. Welcome to studio.
Yes, thank you very much.
How are things in the University of Nairobi?
Everything is fine.
Right.
We can't complain, even in the light of the global pandemic.
Transforming food into a vehicle for change. Help me understand what that means from the perspective of the HULT Prize 2020 challenge.
Yeah, so basically, thank you so much for having me in the show.
You're welcome.
So we'll be talking about a theme that seeks to address issues of food. And you see, when you talk about food, food has two extremes.
Right.
Food has an extreme of being in lack, no food.
Yeah.
There is also a state of too much food, of abundance. And so we are asking young people to actually come out and be innovative in addressing issues of food in relations to these two extremes. As we talk about food, we are also talking about issues of the food supply.
Right.
We want to reimagine the food supply chains. We also want to ensure that issues of irrigation is addressed in our continent, in our world, and ensuring that even as we talk food, how do we bring food to ensure that it is not just about the, we've been having a conversation about food for a long time, but how do we bring the entrepreneurial part of it to the whole aspect of food?
All right. So the Encompa on-campus program, you say, is an opportunity for students who are both in the undergraduate and the graduate program to hone their innovation and creativity skills.
Absolutely.
What do you feel is the aim of this particular program, especially in this period that we are right now, as it affects the youth?
When you talk about, just like I said when we began, issues of food in our continent, Africa, is a huge challenge. And even as we talk about food, we are also asking ourselves, we have been looking upon specific individuals, specific industry key players to come up with solutions addressing food. So we are asking ourselves, me as a young person,
Right.
my name is Mwati, right?
Right.
As a young person, what is the role that I can play in ensuring that I can come up with a solution to address the food challenges in our time?
Right. The youth in the country have been affected in the past 7 months that we have been experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
The numbers in terms of unemployment and the lack of employment opportunities have shot up drastically throughout this period. The youth are the most affected, who are in the ages of 20 to 29, according to statistics by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So this programs such as the HULT price and some of these challenges that help startups put themselves out there.
Yeah.
How do they relate to the problems that the youth are facing in terms of employment, in terms of the challenges they're facing in the startups?
Okay. First of all, allow me to say something that has really been exciting me for a period of time as a young person.
Right.
You see, the 35th president, that is John F. Kennedy of the United States, in his address during the inauguration, he was asking the citizens of the U.S., do not ask what your country can do for you, that rather
What you
ask
can do for
what
your
you can do for your country.
Definitely.
And I think for a long time in our country and in our continent, the phrase "serikali saidia" it's really a common phrase in our continent, in our country. And every time you meet young people gathered together, you know what they're asking for? They are saying that they want their MP, they want their muheshimiwa to come.
The government isn't doing anything for them.
Exactly. So they are saying that they want the muheshimiwa to come on board and help them.
Right.
But as you look at these young people are seated in these jobless corner zones, you know, and there is nothing that they're doing apart from chewing HULT and Mira and all that.
Right.
But I think it is time that we understand the age of a young person is a very critical age.
Right.
An age of productivity, high-spirited, they have gusto, they have energy. And apart from that, these young people have fresh ideas.
Right.
And I think the point where we put our minds not to use, our minds become redundant.
Right.
So I think we need to come to a point when we ask ourselves, as a young person, are you just looking at certain individuals, certain industry players to come up with solutions?
Right.
And
So
that's why I'm saying the HULT price model is actually to challenge young people.
Right.
There is an award that is actually being competed for, you know. They are
For 100
competing
million,
100
Kenyan
million
shillings.
Kenyan shillings.
Right.
But way before that, we are talking about a process, right? From people forming teams, students forming teams, to coming up with an idea to actually conceptualize their ideas. But the journey is the most critical component of the whole process.
How does the journey look like for this particular process for the HULT price program?
That's a very good conversation, because we are thinking of, from the point that a student shows interest in the program, we are coming, we are telling you, welcome on board. Thank you that we have you. And what we want to do to you is that we want to give you an opportunity to actually hone your skills. So the students come on board, especially, you know, different programs have different engagements. Like for the University of Nairobi, we've been having online virtual boot camps. So these boot camps will help the students to actually shape their ideas. We've been having serious speakers on board, very distinguished speakers.
Right.
People who don't just speak from a theoretical point of view, but speak from a point of information and practicality. And I think that it's time we have these conversations in our university. I know the University of Nairobi is doing a lot as far as innovation is concerned. I know Kenyatta University is doing a lot, and many other universities in Kenya. And I think even the government is actually depicting some seriousness when it comes to issues of startups, issues of innovation, social entrepreneurship among the young people.
And now that we've gotten there, the startup bill that has been introduced by Honorable Senator Johnson Sakaja is seeking to incentivize and encourage startups to bring out their solutions now that the government is concerned about them. Do you think that these solutions by government officials are viable, or is it out of their own ambitions? Is there any hope for startups through such bills by the government?
Absolutely. When you look at any effort by the government as far as legislation is concerned, cannot be assumed, cannot just be a walk in the park.
Right.
They have looked, they have seen, that young people have been really struggling when you talk about even issues of patterning ideas.
Right.
We've been having issues in the country where an idea, somebody, a young person, a group of young people who have this amazing idea, but unfortunately, the idea is actually stolen,
Right.
quote unquote.
Right.
So I think the structures being put in place by the government is very critical. And I think it's time we start having this discussion. When you talk about, when you look at the startup bill that Senator Sakaja has actually proposed,
Right.
it is a point of subsidizing the formation of startups.
Right.
To start up there, you have this idea, but this young person doesn't even know what to do next. We have had in the media, in the local television network in our country, we've been seeing they have been showing, actually showcasing young people doing amazing things.
Right.
But how many people do you think are able to get the opportunity to actually appear online?
Right.
Very few.
Very few, very few, very
So we
few.
want to ensure that everyone gets an opportunity to do something wherever they are.
So such prizes, such as the HULT prize, such challenges such as the HULT prize of 2020. What if startups come forth and bring out the ideas? You obviously have to select only one of the startups.
Exactly.
What is the role that HULT prize, especially for the one that you're heading, the campus director for the UN Charter for HULT prize? What is the role that HULT prize is playing to ensure that some of these startup ideas do not just go to waste? Because you can only have one winner for the 100 million Kenyan shillings prize that is this year's, right? So how do you ensure that these other ideas do not go to waste?
Okay. And I think it is important that I say,
Right.
the focus here is not on the donor, or rather the person who gives out the award. Because I think over time, young people have been focused. Anytime, even I ask a number of my friends, what is actually preventing you from achieving your dreams as far as being an entrepreneur is concerned? And all of them will say money. But I think it's time we come up and we ask ourselves the viability of our ideas. You know, we claim you have so many and amazing ideas, but when these ideas are actually put on fire, can they hold? Are you addressing a challenge? Are you addressing
So this morning
a problem?
I just read, just to cut you short, I just read feedback from a viewer who is saying they want to, they would love to bring forth an idea of potatoes, to transport potatoes all the way from Mau to Nairobi, and they would love to see how technology solves these challenges, because we understand that most of the startups that win some of these challenges and the startups that are out there are tech startups. They have to be tech-based. I have rarely seen a startup that has won some of these challenges that is not tech-grounded. Is it important that the startups are grounded in tech, and are there solutions you feel that do not necessarily have to have tech in them for the youth to bring the ideas to life?
It's important that we talk about issues that the current era. What is the current era that we are living in? We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution.
Right.
We're talking about artificial intelligence, big data, machine learning, and all this is actually overtaking everything that we have actually been seeing.
Right.
Time and again, Africa is actually lagging behind. The truth of the matter is that when you talk about the fourth industrial revolution, that is being experienced in other countries. But for you to be competitive, for you to actually stand on the global arena and claim that you have a startup that actually can solve a global challenge, you know, we don't just focus on local problems. We are asking ourselves, as you come up with a solution, will this solution affect the way things run in the world? Because look at the startups being coming from this Western world.
Right.
You see Facebook is still dominating, and all other tech companies, it is being replicated in Africa.
Right.
But the question of startups being replicated in other countries in the world is a question that we need to ask ourselves.
Right. Why are our startups not being replicated?
Absolutely.
Right.
So it talks. We need to be at par. We need to be at par. The way our grandfathers were doing business, the way my father, who happens to be a businessman, was doing business in Kenya, that cannot happen today.
They cannot be the same thing.
It cannot be the same thing. We are asking ourselves, even as we talk about, like the case of potatoes.
Right.
How do we reimagine the supply chains? Is it just about tractors moving on and off? We need to ask ourselves, how do we make things efficient and effective.
Right.
And I think that is a very, very important
So the University of Nairobi
Yeah.
HULT Prize, you say that is focused on, is premised on,
thinking big, yeah.
being bold and working towards solving humanity's pressing challenges.
Absolutely.
How does being bold help, especially in coming up with ideas that solve challenges?
I mean, like I said before, the era that we are living in, you must, if you don't change, by the way, you'll be cut out.
Definitely be cut out.
You know, we're talking about every time I used to go paying school fees when I was in high school. I thought being a bank teller was really a cool job. But in the next couple of months, couple of years, that will be off. You look at even the banks that we have,
Things
go
are
count
being
the tellers. Everything has been automated because of the era that we are living in. And for you, as an institution, as an individual, as somebody who wants to address the challenge of our time, you must actually stand and actually join the workforce in addressing these challenges.
So you have to be bold in
You
that
have to
regard.
be bold.
So how do youth-led initiatives make long-lasting impact in Africa?
It is not, I think there is a point where all entrepreneurs, all social entrepreneurs need to come on the board and agree on. And that is the issue of impact. As you come up with an idea, are you coming up with an idea just to gain money? Because, like I said, most of my mentors, they ask me, when you talk about, you have this amazing idea, what exactly are you solving? Look at the HULT Prize model.
Right.
Every year there is a challenge. Last year, I was a participant, I was a competitor at the on-campus level. We were addressing climate change. But in the address of the climate change, you actually realize that you don't just address a thing so that you can gain something by the end of it all. Do not force a problem. Do not force a challenge so that you can say
find
you
a
have
solution.
Exactly.
Don't create problems and create solutions for them.
Exactly. Because you have a solution, you want to say now, because this solution is a solution.
Let me create a problem for it.
Exactly. And that's the problem you're having. We need to come up and come to a point where you're asking, what impact are you creating as you come up with this product?
So now, the HULT Prize for 2020, how far along are we, and when is it expected, and how can people out there enter into this particular challenge?
Okay, at the university level, all students globally have to participate through their universities.
Right.
So for the University of Nairobi, we have come to a point where we've recruited 500 teams plus. That is for the record. We have had an amazing support from the university. And so we have reached out to the university students, and they have responded in the affirmative by registering, forming a team of 3 to 4 students. And out of these teams, they sit down, evaluate their ideas, and address the challenge. So we will be having quarterfinals in the next 2 weeks. On the 24th of October, we have our quarterfinals.
24th of October.
Yes, that is the elimination round.
Right.
And then we will go on and have our semi-finals later in November, and then our final event will be on November 27th. We are calling on partners to come on board and help us achieve this great objective.
So I'm understanding that this is going to end up in the global...
Exactly. So after the finals at the university, that is the on-campus level, we will be sending the best team to actually represent the university in one of the regional centers across the world.
Right.
We have 25 regional centers. The best team last year, which happens to be from our medical school, went to Cairo.
Right.
And unfortunately, they actually never progressed to the global accelerator, which happens in the United Kingdom, that is in Britain. And out of that, the best 6 teams will actually represent, or rather they will be selected to go to
compete for the global stage.
Exactly, which is actually the award ceremony held at the United Nations General Assembly.
100 million Kenyan shillings. You were a participant last year.
Yes.
What do you feel this amount looks like for a startup that has an idea with impactful solution? Do you think 100 million will lead to something fruitful?
Exactly, absolutely, because look at the previous. If you want to look at impact, you assess the impact based on what has happened before.
Right.
And I think looking at what has happened before, the winners, we've had a team from Kenya win the 100 million in previous year, 2016.
Right, and that was the
Bupas.
Bupas,
Yes.
the solution for matatus.
Exactly.
Yes.
The transport and communications industry,
Right.
they won their 100 million Kenyan shillings. And you can see they're having an amazing impact in the community.
Right.
We also have a group called Aspire Group, dealing with the issues of food. And I think as students of life, not somebody who is in the university. All of us are students of life.
Right.
We
We all
need to
are.
be hungry for information.
Right.
We need to go internet. We are living in the era, like I said before, the era of data. Data is available at the click of a button.
Right. So most people in the government,
Yeah.
probably to round this up, most people in the government, or the adults, we call them the boomers or Generation Z, I
Yes.
guess, claim that youth, especially who are in the millennial, who are categorized as millennials, that they do not have initiative, they do not have the drive, they do not have enough motivation to pursue their ideas. You are someone who is a campus director for the University of Nairobi,
Yeah.
a very big institution, by the way,
Yeah.
that is one of the biggest in the East and Central African region.
Absolutely.
Working with such a huge group, you said you currently have around 500
Teams plus.
teams
That's
plus.
1,500 students.
Right, this is a huge group to work with.
Yeah.
Are the youth driven? Do they have passion? Do they have ideas? Are the ideas viable? Are the ideas feasible? Or are we getting the wrong picture from what we're hearing outside?
I think, like I said, what John F. Kennedy will actually say, asking what you can actually do for your country. I think as young people, time and again, we have been ranting a lot, always complaining. And as a young person, when you come to understand that what is happening on the global stage is not for somebody who is in another country, that as a young person in Africa, I have an opportunity to actually be a part and parcel of the force that is addressing the challenges of our time.
Right.
Look at the Sustainable Development Goals, 2030. It's stated clearly, leave no one behind.
Right.
And if that is the motive, if that is the agenda of the SDGs, then we need to ensure that all people, young and old.
So are they driven? Are they driven enough? You have seen most of
Yes, exactly. By the virtue that somebody has shown commitment and shown the interest to actually participate
Right.
in the program, and also not just participate, because we are also asking somebody who is in the village, they are not enrolled in any university.
Right.
What are they doing? The fact that somebody has shown interest to be actually a social entrepreneur, that is actually a way long before. Instead of just sitting down and complaining that
and
the
just
government...
thinking about your ideas.
Exactly.
Right.
You need to furnish your ideas. We need to polish our ideas so that we can be able to address issues of food. And issues of food is very critical. It's actually at the center of our continent, Africa. And I think everyone should actually be at the part and parcel of the challenge.
Right. So this year's HULT Prize 2020 challenge, transforming food into a vehicle for change. I've been sitting on set on this launch today on Biashara Tuesday with John G. Mwati, who's the HULT Prize Campus Director for the University of Nairobi. Maybe your last remarks and how people can find you eventually to even have this conversation and engage you further on this camera.
Okay. That was an amazing session. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I think as young people, we need to be very, very aggressive. We need to be ambitious. We need to... If it is something that you have been entrusted with, if you feel driven towards as a particular area, a particular interest, please work extremely smart and remembering that you're not just focusing on your small village, but remember that there are young people who are doing amazing things. They are sitting on high-profile boardrooms just to make decisions for you. So you need to ensure that as a young person, you are actually involved in the addressing the challenges of our time. And that's why the SDGs will tell you we are leaving no one behind as we make the world a better place.
Right, thank you very much. We are trying to make the world a better place indeed. And the feedback is overwhelming on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. I'll just rush through some of those comments because of time. Festus Kinyo, you're watching, thank you very much. Nduta Karanja, anasema professor, I assume that is you.
Yeah.
Mwati, this is coming from Makedi Abanas. LC Chelsea, I can see you. Anasema Mwati, strong. There goes Mr. G. G. Mwati, keep the fire burning. Yeah. From Jobik Chigunda. Yeah. Peter Nguka Jr. James Alfayo, Steve Njoroge, thank you very much for tuning in to the launch today. Keep that conversation Keep telling me what you feel are those ideas that you have for startups, as well as the incentives that you would love to get. We have just discussed about the HULT prize. Those are some of the incentives, as well as the startup bill of 2020. I'll be taking a short break and coming back with Tech Voice. On today's Tech Voice, we have mixed reality, so stay tuned to know what exactly mixed reality is.